campers. Today is Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, 2019. We are eastbound on Interstate 84 in Oregon. That is, you can see the lip of the Columbia River Gorge on the opposite side of the river behind me. It is morning, sun is out my window, pointed at me, so I've got decent light to do a video, even though I've got shadow across half my face. And I recorded a video already. This is recorded immediately after the next video that will come out after this one, because this video is going to be a lot shorter than that one, so I can upload it sooner and get something out now, because the other video turned out to be over 30 minutes long, so it's going to take a little while to upload. So I want to make sure I've got something shorter that I can put out now. So let's talk about I'm wearing a Captain Marvel t-shirt. Let's talk about Avengers. So this one's going to be spoiler territory, obviously. So if you want to drop out, my opinion on the movie is it's good. Go see it. It's 3 hours long, and that's a bit much if you're anything like me as far as the movie theater experience goes. I don't like theaters a lot. So you might, I don't know, get 2 tickets, walk out halfway through, go to the bathroom, and come back for the next showing halfway into it. That's an idea. Or get 2 showings that start an hour apart and take an hour break in the middle. That's a good idea, but it's expensive. But yeah, good movie. Go see it if you get the chance, or just wait for the DVD or Blu-ray. I think might be a better idea. But so it's gonna be spoiler territory from here out. My thoughts on this movie. I'm not a movie critic, obviously. I am a truck driver. No one cares about my opinion, but I've got a YouTube channel, so I'm going to talk about it because people are clicking on Avengers videos right now, and that's going to be a good thing. And I enjoy these movies, so I might as well talk about it because it's a fun topic, and there's no traffic out here today, so I might as well record a video while I'm driving. So there were a lot of things about Endgame that I really loved, and there were a couple of things I really didn't. Just kind of going through things in order. I liked the way it started. Obviously, big spoiler territory coming up. This is your last chance to duck out before I'm just like full-on spoilers. But I liked the way it didn't start exactly where I expected, because you get that scene at the end of Captain Marvel and the post-credit scene for that, which I guess is spoilers for Captain Marvel as well. There's the end credit scene from that where she shows up in Avengers headquarters, and the pager stops going off and she's just there. And that scene's not even in Endgame. It starts after that. Like, she's just there already. So I like the way it just goes into that. It's like she has reunited with the Avengers, and I guess they tell her that Tony Stark is missing and they need to find him, and she rescues him from space. I liked the way they did that. And I really liked that moment where Nebula and Rocket were reunited on Earth, because Rocket was on Earth because he came back with Thor. And I enjoyed that moment because Nebula was on the ship with Tony. And they had that moment together because all of their friends were dead. And that's the other part of this movie that's like, I liked it, but gosh, it made it hard. This is a movie about grief and about pain. And that is a heavy thing to sit with for 3 hours. Even though, a lot of that gets undone about 2 hours in. Spoilers. I know I'm past the point of spoilers. You should have ducked out already. But so a lot of that does get undone part of the way in. But it's a heavy thing to sit with going into this movie. And then they just jump forward 5 years. It's just like, okay. Though they've got a really great scene with Tony looking terrible, which I guess that was CGI because it looked a little bit off. But it's like making him look frail and old and nearly dead from 3 weeks in space with no food or water. Or I guess they had water, but no food and almost no oxygen. And then they just jumped straight into going and kicking Thanos' ass on another planet, chopping off his arm, chopping off his head, and yeah, he's dead. That's great. I like that because that completely threw me for loops. Like, I wasn't expecting that to happen in like the first 5 minutes of the film, and it really opened up. It's like, well, okay, where's this going now? And then there's that time skip forward And then they get a little bit pandery. They have the first on-screen gay character in a Marvel movie, with Captain America in a support group, and this guy's talking about his first date with a boyfriend. That was actually one of the directors, was that character. But it's like, okay, this is the first confirmed gay representation in this movie, and it's this character without a name that's like just exists for them to say they did it. Like, all right, that's a little pandery. I'm glad it's happened, but it almost feels like that was just there to piss off the people who that's going to piss off, and less so to actually give decent LGBT representation on the screen. But it's pissing off people that it's good to piss off, so I'm kind of happy about that. And there needs to be more situations where there's just LGBT people on the screen just existing, and I'm happy with that. But, you know, they could have just confirmed one of the heroes was at some level LGBT, because like everyone's like Captain, the actress that plays Captain Marvel is like pushing for her character to be gay or bi, which would be amazing. Captain Marvel's awesome. But just like she's in that first few minutes after they do the time skip forward, she appears in a hologram, and the new Captain Marvel suit, the upgraded suit, because this is like 20 years, more than 20 years after the events of the movie Captain Marvel. Hello, car. You're the first other vehicle I've seen in ages. Like 20 years after the events of like 30 years after the events of Captain Marvel, and she's got a new suit, and after the time jump, she's got a new haircut that's really great. It's like more like the comic one, like the one I've got on my shirt that you can't see. It's out of sight. But, so that was really cool. I like the new costume that she had, but then she's basically on screen in a hologram and say, okay, I'm gonna fuck off for the rest of the movie, bye! And then she's just gone. She's just out of the movie at that point. It's like, why did y'all make such a big deal about bringing Captain Marvel into this universe if all she was going to do was punch Thanos a couple of times and then vanish into the mists? Also, yeah, I guess language. Sorry. Yeah, like she's at that point gone. I get that they're trying to focus on the original 6 Avengers, and that's a good thing. Like, they didn't handle Captain Marvel as well as they could have. Though it's just the fact that she's in the movie at all pissed off some people, and that's kind of a good thing, I think. Because there's this contingent of people that hates Captain Marvel, and I don't understand that at all. But but again, it's almost like her scenes in the start of the movie exist only to piss off those people and not for, you know, like it's like they weren't sure she was going to be popular enough to have a good role in the movie. Sorry, I've got to drink a little bit. I've been talking for like 40 minutes straight because of the other video at this point. So my throat's getting a little wonky. Oh yeah, so they start, you know, Scott Lang comes back and they're proposing the time travel stuff. They start reassembling the Avengers. I love that Professor Hulk was just a thing. They just jumped straight into that. There's no explanation. It's just happened in that 5 years since. Banner and Hulk are one now, and you've got Hulk's intellect with Banner's intellect with the Hulk body, and that's great. I love that they just didn't feel the need to explain that. That's done. We're there. Deal with it. That was good. And then there's Thor. And I'm really torn about Thor. I liked the storyline. I liked that Thor was dealing with PTSD and dealing with anxiety, dealing with self-doubt. That was good. The whole thing with him being fat and them making fun of him for it was not great. Like, they could have done, like, just that moment where you see him and his belly is, like, silhouetted and in the sunlight, and it's a laugh moment. And the audience laughs, and it's like, oh, Thor looks like me now, and people are laughing about that. That doesn't feel great. That doesn't feel great at all. Which, I didn't really appreciate that moment. And then they were just needling him over and over again. I think there was one joke that was obvious, and it was great, because it was the way he was dressed. the sweatpants and stuff, and then just his build and his look, where he meets up with Tony, and Tony calls Thor Lebowski, which that's a good joke. That's a good laugh line. But then there's another line a little bit later where they needle him about. He's like, do you know what runs through my veins? And I think Rhodey says cheese whiz. It's like, okay, y'all are going a little bit too far on the needling him for this. And so they end up on Asgard when they start doing the time travel stuff. And Rocket's just like, get it together, and slaps him at one point. And obviously that does not work. And I've seen people complaining about that being their approach to PTSD. And it's like, you don't need to complain about that, because they show on the screen that is not an approach to this kind of stress that will ever work. It's not Rocket slapping him that gets him to get his act together. He's just gone after that. Like, Rocket has to do the stabby thing with Natalie Portman on his own, which that was a hilarious way for Natalie Portman to get her third Marvel movie out of her contract. It's just appeared in one scene in Avengers Endgame. So she is now free. She can go. She doesn't ever have to do a Thor movie again. It's very clever that they did that, which I don't even think she had to film anything. I think that was just a reused scene from Thor 2. But, that's a third Marvel movie for Natalie Portman, and she is now out. Or at least she can be out. She can come back if she wants, but I don't think she wants to. But yeah, Rocket has to go do that on his own, because obviously his pep talk did not work to snap Thor out of it, because you can't just snap out of it. He ends up needing, come on, legs, get past me. Do I need to back off for you to get around me? No, you're doing it just slow. There's no one behind you, so I'm not gonna back out of it just for you. I need to wrap this up. We're getting close to my exit. But yeah, so Thor ends up spending. I turned you off, I thought. Thor ends up spending a lot of time with his mom in Avengers Endgame, and the actress, I forget the actress's name, but she has more lines in Avengers Endgame than in all the Thor movies put together. Which is kind of a sad state of affairs, but that was a good moment. Like, Thor needed that. He lost everybody that was important to him, and he really needed that moment with someone that cared about him, and that the time travel plot gave him that, and I thought that was good. And then, the moment with him getting Mjolnir back was fantastic. We're just like, I'm still worthy. That's a good moment. That's a good moment that really boosts his confidence and sets him up for the rest of the movie. So I actually appreciated the Thor storyline. I just think they could have done with less fat jokes. That was, that could have been a lot worse, but it was all right. It could have been a lot better too. That's where I am with that one. Gosh, where do we go from there? So the time travel with Loki, I really enjoyed that. Like, Loki gets a Tesseract and just gone out of that timeline, while Hulk is simultaneously learning from Tilda Swinton's character, Ancient One, from I almost said Magic Mike. That movie's not Magic Mike. It's Doctor Strange. I don't know why I want to call that movie Magic Mike every time, but Tilda Swinton from Doctor Strange makes a reappearance in the series, which that was a really pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting her in this movie, and explains the whole splitting time. The whole Marvel conceit of time travel is time travel does not change your future; it just creates an alternate past. But your future continues on unabated with no changes. So, just the fact that Loki got a Tesseract means, bam, other future. Like there's an alternate timeline where Loki escapes, and I don't recall from the movie whether or not that is the same timeline, because I think there's at least 2 alternate timelines, probably 3 now, from Marvel because of this. Actually, I think every timeline they visited is going off in different directions, but they do go back and put the Infinity Stones back, so at least those timelines aren't completely screwed, because Tilda Swinton points out that not having the Infinity, not having all of the Infinity Stones, or just losing 1 or 2 is bad for a single timeline. So those realities, I think, probably still go on, because they do change stuff in those pasts, even if they don't keep the Infinity Stones. Those paths are still changed by the fact that they went back to them. So, but there's like 3 majorly different timelines at least by the end of the movie. Probably 4 if you count whichever one Captain America went back to have his happy ending with Peggy Carter. But so there's the reality where Loki gets the Tesseract and escapes after the events of Avengers. That's one. And then there's also a reality now where Thanos vanishes from the galaxy right after the events of Guardians of the Galaxy. Thanos is just gone because he goes into the future and dies. So it's like I want that timeline, the timeline without Thanos. That's a pretty good timeline all of a sudden, I think. So like there's an entire reality where the snap just never happened, which amuses me greatly, because the Thanos that dies at the end of Endgame is a different Thanos than the one that died in the beginning of Endgame. So like they defeat Thanos twice in one movie. I liked that. I liked that there's other timelines now and that they just don't address that, because that leaves things open for a lot of cool stuff to happen later. So then the last thing I want to mention is there's a scene in the final fight. The final fight is awesome, especially, Captain America with Thor's hammer. That's awesome. Awesome. I also love the moment that where Thor brings his armor in and it braids his beard. That was just like, it didn't clean his hair, but it braided his beard. That was funny. But the fight with Thanos at the end. Ooh, there's an Argosy going the other way. Neat. But with a triple. Wow. It's a FedEx contractor with a new Argosy, like one of the modern Argosies from Australia. But I guess they got it left-hand drive somehow. I think they sold them as glider kits for a while in America. But so there's that. In that fight, there's a moment where there's this just this cheer moment for women in the crowd, where all of the female Marvel heroes are together on screen for this one moment after Spider-Man passes Captain Marvel the Stark Infinity Gauntlet. And that's a really great moment. And then it's gone. And then it's gone. So simultaneously, it was awesome. I cheered. The whole theater cheered for that moment. It was obviously pandering, just like the LGBT scene earlier, but that was a pandering moment that, it's a good thing to acknowledge. Like, they've got a lot more female superheroes now. They literally just killed one off a few scenes before that. they fridged Black Widow for this movie. It's like, she has to die, so the stakes are real. That's not great. That's not great. So I'm not entirely sure they earned that yay women, girl power moment later in the movie, but it was still a good moment to exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I really hope they keep going forward with that stuff. I was really glad to see Valkyrie, Shuri, Gwyneth Paltrow of all people in the rescue armor show up for that last fight. That was all really good. That made me happy. Okoye from Black Panther, the lead guard from the honor guard for T'Challa, the king in the royal family. Her being in that fight was really cool as well. But she had a lot more badass moments in Infinity War than she did in this one. But then Captain Marvel fails to get the gauntlet to the van and send it back in time. So you get that moment with Stark at the end, and the whole ending sequence was great. I enjoyed that. I liked the ending. I cried when Tony died. I'm not afraid to admit that. I was basically crying from the moment that Tony got the gauntlet to the end of the funeral. So, oh man, that's something that died big there. That's a big deer. But yeah, so I cried through the whole end of the movie, and that was really good. And then I sat through the whole credits just for the Iron Man hammer noise. Which, happy with that. Good movie. Definitely go see it. If you haven't already, you should have seen it already. If you listen to all of this. This video's like 20 minutes long already. No! I'm done. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how you liked Endgame, if you had any of the same issues I did, or if you've got other issues with the movie, if you think I got something really wrong. Let me know. I'm excited to see what they do from now, because I guess the Loki disappearing was the start for his his Disney Plus series. He's going to have a streaming series on Disney's Netflix thing. I don't know how WandaVision's going to happen. That's Scarlet Witch and Vision have a series coming out with them together. They didn't really set that one up in this because Vision's still dead, but so that's not ideal. But and then also what's the other series that was coming? I don't remember. But there's a Black Widow movie coming, which I guess is a prequel now, unless they find a way to bring her back from the Soul Stone at some point. Maybe like Captain America finds a way to bring her back when he like returns the Soul Stone. That would be interesting. I'd love to see an entire movie that's just Chris Evans going back and taking the Infinity Stones and the hammer back to where they belong. That would be kind of neat. And then also there's some people that were complaining that Captain America showing up violates the timeline thing. It's like, no, he just traveled back in a different spot. He still had to use the suit to get back to the main timeline. There was like an interview with the directors that confirmed that. Like, that wasn't his old Captain America hasn't been sitting around in the background for the last 20 years of Marvel movies, or the last 10 years of Marvel movies. He's not been hanging out doing nothing. He had a whole timeline where he was just around in the 1970s instead. So that would be, there's some potential cool movies there. Falcon and Winter Soldier is the other series I was thinking of. I'm excited about that one. I'd rather see Anthony Mackie get his own Captain America movie. I think that needs to happen sooner rather than later. I'm glad he's got the shield now, and I was really happy with that development. I think he's a great actor and deserves that. Though the facial hair was a little bit weird in this movie, a little bit weird, but fine. Yeah, it's fine. No worse than Tony Stark. So, there's that. Tony's kid was heartbreaking. I felt bad through the whole movie because the second I saw that he had a kid, I'm like, oh, he's fucked. He's dead. He is gone. I'm sorry for the cursing in this review. I just did a whole video with like no filter cursing and stuff. So I'm kind of in that mode. So sorry. But yeah, I'm finished. Happy with that movie. Let me know what you thought about it as well in the comments or on Twitter at Ellie O'Dare, no apostrophe in the username. You can find me on Twitter, Xbox Live, Steam, and on Nintendo Switch. Then you can friend me on all those services and talk to me and stuff. And just remember, don't act like a robot. Very important messages. Give yourself a nice, unique username. Don't do one of the auto-generated ones with all the numbers. That makes you look like a robot. And come say hi and hang out on social media. Let me know if you thought the same stuff I did. It is Monday in 2 days, which I guess is when I'll post this video live, where the directors are like, okay, free-for-all spoilers are fine for Avengers Endgame. So I hope y'all saw it over one of the 2 weekends it's been out so far. I saw it up in Nampa, Idaho, after delivering up a meat load to a customer in Wilder, Idaho on US 95. I went straight to a movie theater afterward and watched the movie. It was great. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this one was a little bit long. I recorded it planning for a shorter video and it just backfired on me. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Move, bird, move! Thank you. Have a great day. Bye! The bird ruined my outro.